Good morning everyone and welcome to the webinar today. The National Disability Services, NDS, the Council of Social Services through ACOSS and Jobs Australia are working in collaboration to implement the National SACS Education and Information Program on behalf of the Commonwealth Government. The focus of the program is to provide factual information about the move to the SCADS Modern Award and the outcome of the Equal Remuneration Order. Today's webinar focuses on the pay equity and ERO Equal Remuneration Order implementation in Queensland. The content of the program has been developed by NDS, the network of COSS and Jobs Australia, and our aim is to meet the needs of employers who have employees under the SCADS Modern Award. We're also working in collaboration with the ASU, who at the same time are rolling out a program which focuses on the needs of employees employed under the SCADS Modern Award. So as I say, today's webinar is about the pay equity and the Equal Remuneration Order implementation in Queensland. In terms of the overview, we're going to have a look at the Fair Work system. That will include a brief overview of Queensland's referral of its powers to the federal system, pay equity in Queensland, constitutional corporations, the transition movement over to the Modern Award, and then lastly we'll have a look at the equal pay case. So Queensland referred its powers to the Commonwealth on January the 1st, 2010, and the old state awards have now been replaced by modern awards from February 2011. In terms of pay equity increases in both the Queensland Community Service and Crisis Assistance or the Disability Support Workers Award, these are preserved as a separate Transitional Pay Equity Order or a TPEO. Queensland has a rather unique system, and the way to work out which award is the applicable for you in terms of rates of pay, really it hinges on was your organisation a constitutional trading corporation, and were you covered by either the SACS or CASH awards. So what you're looking at here is a table. If you were a respondent to the SACS or CASH award and you are a constitutional trading corporation, then it's effectively the modern award rate that rates of pay that form your underpinning rates of pay. That includes a 2.9% wage increase from the 1st of July this year, plus the Equal Remuneration Order does apply to those sitting on the modern award, and again that's if you're a constitutional trading corporation, and we'll have a further look at that in a little bit. If you were a respondent to SACS or CASH, but you were a non-trading corporation, then what you need to be looking at is, did you receive supplementary funding from the Queensland Government for the purposes of paying the Queensland pay equity rates from 2009, and did you not have an enterprise agreement as of the 1st of January 2010? If that's the case, your organisation may be covered by the Pay Equity Regulation that commenced in March this year. The Pay Equity Regulation rates apply until such time as the ERO catches up. For those of you that weren't respondent to SACS or CASH, again the question is, was your organisation a constitutional trading corporation? If you were, then you can see here the SCADS has applied since 2010, and outlined in the SCADS are the transitional arrangements for some conditions that started to phase over from July this year, and we eventually arrive at the modern award rates in 2014. Also, the national minimum wage increase applies to this, which was 2.9% this July, and the national minimum wage increase each July. The Equal Remuneration Order also applies to those of you who are sitting on the modern award rates because you're a constitutional corporation. If your organisation was covered by the Queensland Community Service and Crisis Assistance Award, or the QCSCA, from 2008, then from July 2009 you're actually subject to the pay equity rates, and as I said, they're preserved in your own Transitional Pay Equity Order or TPEO. From February 2011, the SCADS conditions applied, and there are transitional arrangements again phasing from the old loadings in the QCSCA rates across to the modern award loadings and penalties. If you employ disability support workers, the old, again, it's all based on whether you're a trading corporation or not, and we will visit that just very shortly. But for those of you who are on the old Disability State Award, if you're a trading corporation, then you move to the Disability Support, what we call the NAPSA or preserved rates, and that increased by 2.9% in July this year. For those organisations that were non-trading corporations, there was a separate transitional pay equity order, and that actually has rates higher, and as a result there was no increase this year. So you'd be sitting on the state award plus any pay equity rates, and I believe they've finished phasing now. So while it appears to be a complex issue, there are 3 types of instruments, and we've gone through how to determine which one applies. Obviously, if you need more advice, it's always good to get that from your employer association. So it's possible that the modern award will apply to you, or that you'll be sitting on one of the transitional pay equity orders, or the QCSCA or Disability Support Workers Old Award. And then of course there's those who came over to the QCSCA rates because they were subject to the regulation in March this year. So in terms of what is a constitutional corporation, you're looking at things like, are you incorporated or limited? Are you engaged in significant or substantial trading activity? It's fairly clear for organisations with significant social enterprise or fee-for-service activity. Generally, it's taken that if more than 90% of your income is arrived at from trading, then you potentially will be a constitutional trading corporation. But it is less clear if most of your funding comes from welfare services or any other sorts of government funding. In terms of trading, as I said, it's some notion of buying or selling, that generating of revenue. The problem becomes trading and government funding. The case law is very contradictory, and prior to 2008 it was generally held that receipt of public funding was not trading. However, since that time, as I said, there has been some contradictory case law, and funding arrangements which look like commercial contracts are currently more likely to be regarded as trading, and block grants are less likely to be regarded as trading. But unfortunately there is no definitive line, and the ultimate test is to run your matter off to court and have the matter heard as to whether you're a constitutional trading corporation or not. Obviously there's a matter of practical judgment for the employer to make. It would be quite costly. So, as I say, if you're in any doubt as to whether you are or not, you should definitely start by speaking to your employer association and getting that additional advice. So in terms of SACS and crisis accommodation workers, from the 1st of July this year, there are some old loadings and penalties that applied in previous, the old state awards, that we now need to move over to the modern award. And the way we do that is that from the 1st of July each year, from 2012 right through to 2014, you either get 40% of a loading that exists in the modern award that didn't exist in the old award, or in fact you lose 40% of a loading that existed in the old award but doesn't exist in the modern award. And it is possible for those 2 things to be happening at the same time. So just to give you an example, I think this sets it out quite clearly. We're looking at casual loading. So casual loading under the old SACS and CASHQ Queensland award was 20%, whereas in the old Disability Support Workers and the Community Service and Crisis Assistance Award, it was 23%. From the 1st of February, home care and family daycare actually commenced phasing those loadings. However, they then applied a July phased amount as well. So we're now looking at the July amount for everybody. So the SACS and CASHQ Queensland loadings have phased from 20% across to 23% from this July, whereas if you're always on the QCSCA rates or the Disability Support Workers rates, you should be paying, the phased amount is 24.2%. You can see that from July next year, both these rates, one will go to 24% for SACS and CASHQ, the other rate will go to 24.6. Eventually in July 2014, you can see here, the 25% is the modern award rate. So that'll be the finalising of the phasing of the loading. Now, in terms of the Equal Remuneration Order, Fair Work Australia announced in February this year the creation of the Equal Remuneration Order. It was to start in December this year, so we've just seen the first increase in those Equal Remuneration Order amounts. And it's to be phased in 9 equal instalments over the 8 years each December. Again, it applies to the modern award, so if your rates are currently higher, they become the transitional rate, and that's what you need to maintain. In terms of the Equal Remuneration Order increases, Fair Work found a level 2 to be moving by 19%, right through to a level 8 to be moving by 41%. Then on top of that, they found there was a lack of potential bargaining within the industry, so they actually applied a 4% loading on top of those amounts. So that actually takes us to a level 2 going to 23%, right through to a level 8 going to 45%. When you divide that by the 1/9 or the 9 equal instalments, you can see the modern award will move by 2.6% for a level 2 and 5% for a level 8. Of course, we'll have a look in a second at what the specifics are in Queensland. In terms of the transitional rates, currently where your old award rates are higher than the modern award rates, the old rate needs to be maintained except the transitional pay equity orders, which do operate separately. Again, if you're not sure about that, you should seek some advice. But what we're saying is the old rates are what prevail, and eventually the modern award will move to the same rates in 2020. The transitional rates are subject to the Equal Remuneration Order. It's just that we arrive at those amounts in slower proportion, but we'll all be thankfully on the same rates come December 2020. So in terms of the Equal Remuneration Order arithmetic, we've tried to make it easy. A is represented as the equal remuneration payment, or where we'll be in 2020. B is your current award rate. That's where we are now. So that's either going to be the modern award rate, or as I said, your preserved transitional award payment. That'll be those old rates that you have to maintain. And the way you do the calculation is where we will be in 2020, taken away from where we are now, divide that difference by 1/9 and add it to where you are now. So in terms of the ERO increases, I think this shows you quite clearly what we're talking about. If A is the full Equal Remuneration Order amount, so this is what the award will look like in 2020, how do we get to that? Well, we're currently on the modern award rate. This is what happens to the modern scabs award rate. And as I say, that moves in 9 equal instalments to equal the full Equal Remuneration Order amount come 2020. So you divide that by 1/9 and that person will move, the modern award rate, will move by that percentage each December. Now if we look at where you currently are on the preserved above award, modern award rate, you can see that sits higher than the modern award, and those rates still move. We still need to be at the same point in 2020. The difference is how do we arrive there? And really it's divided by the 1/9. It's just smaller amounts of the pie, if you like. So the interaction of the transitional pay equity orders and the Equal Remuneration Order, the pay rate set by both TPEOs and by the TPEOs and the regulation prevail until the ERO catches up no later than 2020. And the new Queensland Regulation announced just recently provides that the state wage increases previously in 2010 and 2011, it offers some clarity around that in that they did apply. It also says that the state wage increase applied from the 1st of December this year, and it also goes on to set out that from next year the national wage increases will apply, not the old state wage increases. The TPEOs, or the Transitional Pay Equity Orders, both the regulation and the original QCSCA rates, provide an additional 1% increase each July to apply between 2013 right through to 2015, so that'll be on top of the national minimum wage increase. Eventually the ERO will catch up to the regulation, and the timing of that will depend obviously on the national wage increases. So looking at the TPEO and the Equal Remuneration Order for SACS, what we've tried to set out here is from December this year, the state increase of 2.9% did apply to the Transitional Pay Equity Order, or the QCSCA rates. The increase for the equal remuneration order also applied. From July 2013 to 2015, it's just a summary. So 1% is provided for in the original Transitional Pay Equity Orders, and the national wage increase will also apply. Between December 2013 and 2015, there's no equal remuneration order amount, and between 2016 to 2020, the national wage increases will catch up. So that's reflected here, and what you're seeing, the dark green dots here are the modern award. We've based this on an assumption that the national minimum wage increase for the purposes of this calculation are based on a 3% increase. So you can see the modern award will move twice each year, July and December. July will be the national minimum wage increase, and December will be the equal remuneration order. Now, the new regulation announced just recently in Queensland, we were only going to be seeing the 1% increase in July each year in line with the regulation. However, the regulation in December now clarifies that, as I said, the state wage increases have applied prior, and that it will apply from the 1st of December 2012, and then next year will also follow the national minimum wage increase. So what we're seeing here is the modern award will move at quite a substantial rate up until 2020 to arrive at the full equal remuneration order. The Queensland rates will move at the proportionally amount, and you can see that we will pretty much interact and then follow on with the modern award. Hopefully that's been quite clear for you all. As I say, if there's any questions you have around being a constitutional trading corporation, you should seek that advice. If you have any confusion in relation to any of the TPEOs, again, contact your employer association. If you need further information or links to other sites, please refer to the NDS website, and that is up on your screen at the moment. Thank you very much for listening today, and I hope the information has been useful.